I'm Mellowseven. This is Football Manager 2018. We're going to try a little experiment today. So I've been watching the Loki Doki experiment. He did a manager experiment tied to a player experiment. So he essentially made a parent and a child, and the child's a player, and the parent was the coach, and he wanted through. And this is the second time he's tried the manager one in 2018, and they both kind of gone bad. One of them, he just kind of stopped. He just wasn't happy with it. He thinks he made the manager too good for the reputation, and so he was could only get job opportunities at low reputation teams, but thinks maybe he'd be asking money tied to his skills, which those low teams weren't going to get, and he just kind of dropped off. So he made a second character, and the second character manager had a higher reputation and managed for a few years, and then just kind of fell off and never did anything. That manager was set to only be a manager, though. So if you went in and you could look at job suitability or whatever, and manager was 20, I think, and everything else was 1. So I'm going to look at a couple different things with ours. I've created 4 different managers, or modified 4 managers that were already in the game, more accurately. So we have Larry, Curly, Mo, and Shemp here, our stooges. All 4 of them are head coaches, all of them starting out in the Scottish. They did not start out in the Scottish lowland. Maybe they did. Did I start them all there? I think they all started here in the Northern Irish. Now, of course, the first time I did this, and I had autosaves on, and so I created them. I went a year, and the autosaves did its thing, and of course I deleted all the autosaves and just left the original save. What I was thinking was the original, but it wasn't the original. It was the latest. So we've actually gone through almost a whole year here. So let's go ahead first, and let's look at Shemp here. Well, let's talk at what we did. So first of all, what I have is, let me look at my notes here. Larry and Mo are both made with, well, all 4 of them are made with a current ability of 75, potential ability of 200. All of their coaching skills were at 10 except for goalkeeping, which was a 1s, okay? So 10s across the board except for goalkeeping skills, they were 1s. I didn't really mess with anything else back there. However, if we look at Shemp here, edit staff details, these here, we adjusted these. So 15 ambition, 5 loyalty. So they're ambitious, but they're not tied to a team, right? 15 for pressure, 15 for professionalism, 10 for sportsmanship, 15 for temperament, 10 for controversy. So current ability at the beginning was 75, potential was 200. Current reputation. So for 2 of them, Larry and Mo, they were given a 2,000 current reputation, a home reputation of 1250, and a world reputation of 500. So that was Larry and Mo. Curly, those numbers were essentially doubled. Actually, their current reputation was made 5,000 and then 2,500 and 1,000. So a little bit more than doubled for current. Now, Larry and Curly are both set to be, let's make sure I know which one we're on. We're on Shemp. So Larry and Curly are set to do 3 jobs. So if we look here, staff roles, they have a 20, 20, and 20 for head coach, 20 for assistant coach, 20 for coach, I think 15 for general manager. So 4 staff roles that they'll do. Whereas Mo and Shemp only want to be head coaches. And so we're going to see if that limits their job opportunities in the future. Now, we've already seen a few changes here. Let's go ahead quickly and let's go ahead and load. Well, let's look at where they are here at the end of the first year rather than kind of the beginning of the second year. So I'm going to go back. We're going to start with Larry. He was the first one I made. You can see right now his numbers have dropped. Now, that's probably because all of these 10s is actually a little bit too high for 75 for a current ability. What does it say his current ability is? His current ability is 75. So these numbers drop to balance out that 75. That's essentially what happened. We still have a couple 10s, and this was going to happen for all of them unless they started to get better. So you can see here staff roles, general manager, head coach, assistant. I guess these are 15s maybe. Maybe those dropped as he's been a head coach. Let's look at his history real fast. Whoops, history overview. Wasn't quite what I was looking for. I was looking for more of an employment history. Milestones, maybe? Okay. So we created him right here, right in the middle here. So June of 2017. And he was the head coach of St. Field United. And St. Field United, as you can see, is Northern Irish Amateur Division. That was the beginning of the season. They were all made in the Northern Irish Amateur Division. They were part-time coaches. He pretty much instantly got a job with EduSport here, who is in the Scottish Lowland League. I have Scotland, Wales, England, Ireland, and Northern Ireland loaded up with all of the, with a number of extra leagues. So they have some options was my thought. So anyway, so they've come here to the Scottish Lowland League. And that's what we're looking for, right? So let's go ahead and look at Curly. Curly's the other one that's happy to be whatever. And we can see milestones. We can see he was at Gromsport here, and he made it until January of 2018, so just a couple months ago. And then he jumped ship to the Edinburgh University, who's also Scottish Lowland, oddly enough. So, done okay. Larry Curly. So Mo and Shemp only want to be head coaches. And if we come here to their milestones, well, we'll see that in a second. He started out the Wellington head coach, and that is, yes, and that is where he still is. They finished second, though, or were second. And that leaves Shemp. And here we go. Shemp only wants to be a coach, right? And then milestones. We can say he started out at Institute. And he is still, that is not where he started out. He started out at Hollywood. Now, interestingly enough, because there weren't actually 4 head coaches in the Northern Irish Amateur Division when I started, because it's one of Clausen's ones, and they don't all have full staff. He was actually the assistant coach. We made him the coach, the manager. But he clearly didn't stay terribly long. He made it till the end of the year, and then he jumped ship and went to Institute, who are the Belfast Telegraph Championship. So they all, 3 of the 4, changed divisions on us. Wait, Wellington is the only one, right, that's still there? Yeah. So only Mo stayed with his team. Everybody else jumped. Now, the one thing I can't figure out how to change after the fact is coaching qualifications. So we do have a range. We have 2 National Bs and National A, and then Mo here has a Continental B. So he's got the highest coaching certificate. So that's where they were, and he's clearly still working because it's a part-time amateur club. He's not getting paid anything. So let's go ahead and load essentially the beginning of the second year, and we'll see how that looks. All right, staff shortlist. We can see that Larry is now a free agent. So clearly, that didn't work out for him. He had a job a minute ago, right? A month ago in May. And now in June, he does not. So let's take a look here, milestones here. He left as head coach. So he wasn't fired. He left. Contract ended, I guess, maybe. Maybe 14th wasn't high enough for the Scottish Lowland League for EduSport. Not sure. It looks like he essentially finished out the season and moved on. So let's look really quick. Like I said, these all started out as 10s. You can see most of them have dropped a little bit, again, to balance out that 75. But you can see Curly and Shemp have started to improve. He's up to an 89. Curly's up to an 85. So Curly and Shemp, these are our 2 high reputation guys. Okay, these are our 2 low reputation guys. And Larry and Curly, these are our 2 that will do any job. These are the 2 that only want to be head coaches. So we'll see how that goes. So that is the beginning, essentially, of our second year. So 1 year in the books. 3 of the 4 coached higher league teams. 3 of the 4, although not those same 3, still have jobs. So let's go ahead and load up the beginning of our third year, I guess, end of the second year, depending on how you want to look at it. And we'll see how that goes. Now Shemp doesn't have a job either. So Larry and Shemp, they have nothing in common. Larry is one that will do any of the 3 jobs. Shemp only wants to be a coach. Shemp is a high reputation. Larry was the low reputation. So we have essentially one from each side, as I drew it up, that still have jobs. However, Curly has gotten a continental license. So that's the commonality. Those with the continental license still have a job. Those with the national license do not. So the high reputation combined with the continental license, we see a huge jump here in his current ability. Mo's got a little bit of jump, right? Because he was at 89 and he was at 75. So they've stalled. They haven't gone anywhere. Mo has gone up to an 86 since the last time we saw him, and Curly up to the 116. So we see these numbers are getting to get pretty decent. And these are new teams too, right? So let's take a look at Portadown FC, 10th in the Danske Bank Premiership, and Fort William is in the Highland Football League. So they've both got new jobs, moved on, and these two are unemployed. So let's go up to the next save. This year, Larry and Mo have jobs. And despite the fact that he's up to a 131 for his current ability, and he's still got that Continental B license, he looks good, but he doesn't have a job this time. Larry and Mo both have jobs. So Larry got a job, still has a National A license, still has a current ability of 75, but he's getting paid now. So, I mean, it is a paid job. And Mo, low reputation, but he started off with the Continental B. He's up to a Continental Pro license now. So he's really making the most of this, despite the fact that he was one of the lower reputation. He's catching up with Shemp pretty quickly. So let's see what happened to Curly here. Was he fired? He was fired. So clearly Portadown did not do what they were supposed to do. Interestingly enough, and Shemp, let's verify what happened with him. Milestone, and he just left. So take a look at Larry real fast. He's happy for any job, any of the roles and milestones. Of careers EduSport. Wait, I thought he had a job now. He does. He must have just got it because I don't see it there. Oh, right here, leave. So they gave us a leave, but they didn't get us a hired at. So he's been the manager there for about 10 days. And Mo, let's take a look at him real fast. Again, head coach is the only thing he wants to do. We see these numbers start to come up. We see that Continental Pro license. Oh, wait, we can look at stats too. Okay, so he's been with Harland and Wolf Welders. Oh, no, that was as a player. That's why we can see that. We're not looking for that. We're looking for milestones here. So he has been with Coleraine since January. So he took them over at the winter break, it looks like. Somebody must have got canned. They finished 6th, still got his job. So this is 2021. Let's go ahead and load, I guess, the last one here. Let's go up one more year to 2022. All right, so this is our last year for this episode anyway. And you can see that Mo is the only one with the job right now. So he had the most handicaps as far as original setup in that he had the low reputation and he will only work as a manager. And yet, the fact that he started out with a Continental license seems to have put him in good stead because he's still got a job. But we can see now that Larry also has a Continental license. So Shemp's the only one still down with the national license. Shemp only wants to be a head coach, although we haven't seen anybody work as an assistant coach other than that. They all show a preferred head coach. But he had the high reputation. You can see his reputation is still up, 3,500. Larry's is barely up. It went from 2,500 to 2,700. But, despite that, that national license seems to be holding him back. And I say, Mo, making the most of it. Not the highest current ability, 101 is all. He does have the highest license, though, and that does seem to be standing him in good stead. You've got to think that Curly's going to get a job here, though, right? And we just haven't seen anything since he was fired at Portadown. I guess being fired really is the nail in the coffin for him. So anyway, I'm going to kind of probably keep running this maybe, I don't know, another 5-10 years. We'll kind of, it takes about an hour a season for me to run. So, set up and running this took about 6 hours, and none of that's real playtime. It's run it, save it, run it, save it, and then do nothing else on your computer while it's happening. So I might try running it off to the laptop so we can see it a little bit differently. But anyway, from this, I've learned really very, very little. Well, what I've learned is that your coaching qualification you start with is the determining factor. He started with the highest license, and despite the fact that everything else was lower, that license seems to be carrying him through, and he's the one with the job. So let's see how did. I'm going to back up here. Can we look at how they finished last season? Well, if we go here, and then we look at stages and league table, and they finished the top half. So Coleraine, and then Portadown finished 6th, oddly enough, which was who's their manager now? Paul Miller. So I guess because that was Curly that was there. Milestones. Yeah, he was. So he got fired that year, 2019. So he got fired January of 2019. So let's see if we can figure that out. Let's go stages, league table, 1920. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they did very badly. So, I don't know where they were in January, but at the end of the year, they were in 11th. So, didn't do well. And then the next year without him, they jumped up to 9th, and now they're up to 6th. So, what were they before he got there? And they were 10th. And they just got promoted up. So I don't know that he did a bad job. He took a team that had been recently promoted, clearly didn't overperform, but didn't underperform because, the next guy, it was a slow climb up. So interesting. Anyway, that's going to be it for this episode. Well, that's kind of a short one for me, which is nice. And then we'll every weekend maybe we'll do one little run through of this and see how it looks, or maybe a little bit faster. Depends on how often I want to waste 5 hours of just hitting vacation save. So I think it's interesting, especially because I do so many journeyman saves, to see kind of what helps you get the jobs. And right now it looks like license is what gets you the job, despite all the other negatives. How's he done? Milestones. Does it say? Does he win any awards? You got a Coach of the Month here. Competitions. Runners up in the Northern Irish with Wellington. Not too bad. And then William Hill. Doesn't look like they did much. With Fort William, they didn't do much. In fact, he didn't even stay long enough to finish, I guess. And then 4th in the Donska, 6th in the Donska, 5th in the Donska. So they've been pretty consistent. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. If this type of thing interests you, let me know if there's some things that you would have seen done, if you would have done differently, or something that you'd like to see with this. I'd love to know what your comments are on that. Like I say, this whole thing spawns from the fact that I had some questions. They weren't answered by Loki's experiment that I wanted to find out. So if there's some questions you have, let me know, and we can try running something a little bit differently. Also, if you know how to change what licenses somebody has with the in-game editor, or even with an out-of-game editor, I do have one of them. I have, which one do I have? I have the FM Scout editor. That'd be great too, because that'd be even better if we could do that. And I guess that's it. Thanks for watching. Cheers.